Alright, today I'm going to show you how to tighten the power steering belt on a Mercedes W123 with the 4-cylinder M102 engine. I'm guessing you're probably here because you looked at the manual and it said undo this, and this bolt and adjust it with that. And you thought, that's not too bad. Until you look in there and you go, how do I reach this? Well, let me show you how to do that. But first, let's start off with the tools you will need. Okay, these are the tools you'll need to do the job. A combination 13mm spanner. A long 13mm ring spanner. A 19mm combination spanner. Phillips head screwdriver. And a 19mm socket. Preferably something with a shorter handle. Optionally, you can also add a 13mm ratchet spanner and a 10mm socket, or you can use a 10mm spanner. This is just to remove, in fact these two are just to remove the air filter housing. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, to remove the air filter housing you want to remove the nut from here, which I've done, and there's another nut here that I've also removed with the washers. And then there's a third one underneath here. You can just see it up under there. It only needs to be loosened because there is a cutout underneath. See how it moves? Like that. Doesn't need to be taken off fully. Okay, what you want to do is carefully lift up the air filter housing to reveal this screw and undo it. Alright, I've already undone mine. And then you're going to do two things. First one is you're going to remove this hose here, but you're also going to remove the crankcase ventilation hose off the valve cover. So you may need a screwdriver to pull it off, but because I've taken mine off 10 times it's rather easy. So just pull him like that. And then what we can do is lift the air filter housing off. Like so. So the reason we've done it this way is because underneath the air filter housing you've got this pipe that attaches to it, and it's very difficult to remove and install this pipe when it's upside down attached to the car. So I always opt to remove these two, especially if your hoses are a bit older and have hardened. Okay, so now we're revealing the guts of the engine. Let's get a closer look. Now you can get a clearer picture of where the bolts are that you need to undo. Let's go down there. Okay, you'll see this bolt right in front of me. That needs to be loosened, along with this bolt down here. You can see there's an elongated hole that it goes through. That is the movement that your power steering pump can adjust through. The third bolt we have to undo is over here. Let's see if we can get a light under there. There we go. See that one? So you want to actually loosen the 13mm nut on top and loosen the 19mm nut on the base. That will actually be what you move to adjust the tension of the belt of the power steering pump. But you're probably wondering, how do we get down there? Well, that's where the tools come in that I showed you before. Let's give it a go. Okay, so first thing I've got is the long 13mm spanner. Let's see if we can see what I'm doing here. It's hard to do it with the camera, but even harder to do with your own eyes. Okay, so see that bolt there? I'm just going to try and get this spanner. Got it. Okay, so it's on, and this is why you've got the long one, because this can be quite hard to undo. Now, I've already undone this before, so it's actually loose. And it's just coming a bit loose there. Now, once you've broken it loose, you might as well go to the top one here. Again, you need the long spanner, and just try and break this one loose as well. There we go, like that. And then your next one to break loose is further on to the left-hand side of the car, which is that one that's got the 19mm bolt underneath it. So let's see if we can get around to that. Actually going to try and get in there with the ratchet spanner. One hand is underneath the plenums to guide, and the other hand is going between the plenum and the distributor. So let's get that on. Unfortunately got all these vacuum lines that get in the way, but that's where the ratchet one is quite good. So that's coming a bit. So you just need to loosen that. Oh, maybe 3 or 4 turns. So that's about, and now it's getting easier. Okay, so, whoops, I dropped him. Oh, anyway, you can see that's a little bit loose now, and this whole unit, this whole gear sort of thing moves, alright? So I'm going to keep loosening these first 2 bolts, and I'll show you what happens when they're loose. This is the kind of position I'm in with my hand trying to undo that other bolt. But it can be done. I'm just using the open end of a 13mm spanner, and you can turn it a bit, then flip the spanner around 180 degrees, and then just see like this, and just flip it around again. Now it helps if you've got smaller hands and you don't have arthritis. I don't have small hands, my hands are huge, but thankfully I don't have arthritis yet. So anyway, I'm just going to keep going with this until I get it, and I'll show you when it's loose. So now I've moved this socket onto this bolt. Now let's see if I can do this one-handed. No, I can't. I've got to say, this is very tight. Like, this is, for the job it is, it shouldn't be this hard. But anyway, maybe I can actually clean this up here, like so. Ah, there we go. And so what I'm doing is I've got, again, one hand at the bottom, one hand at the top, and I'm now just, hear those clicks, so you can actually move it. Let's see if we can see it from the outside here. So this unit is loose now. I don't know if you can see me wiggling that around, and the belt is also, it's also very loose. A lot of movement there. Okay, so to tighten the belt, you want to have the wrench going. Oh, let's get this out without pulling vacuum lines off. So that right now is going clockwise. That is to loosen the belt. Anti-clockwise is to tighten the belt. So give that a go. So now that I've tightened the belt, the first thing I'm actually going to tighten is not the lock nut that I was just doing, but I'm actually going to tighten this one up here first, just to set the belt into position, alright? So tighten that, and it needs to be reasonably tight. You don't need to go crazy, because you probably want to undo it sometime in the future. And then, now, I'm going to tighten up the last 2 bolts, which is the one on the gear nut and the one at the very bottom that was the hardest to reach. Okay, so we've tightened that all up, and our belt is nice and tight. So now I just put the air filter cover back on and go for a drive. That's it, done.